the Japanese who came to Peru brought their cuisine. So it's a mixture of cuisines from really all over the world, Asian and African, and of course the Spaniard, the European. So Peru has a lot of different foods.
Hey everyone, welcome to Food Culture Curious, the podcast where we dive into the intersection of culture and nutrition. I'm your host, Arely Gutierrez, a Latina registered dietitian, and I'm here to explore how cultural inclusivity can transform our approach to food, health, and well-being. Each episode aims to empower you to better understand and serve diverse communities with practical insights, personal stories, and expert advice. If you find this podcast valuable, don't forget to hit that follow button, leave us a review, and share it on your socials. You can find us as @FoodCultureCurious. Hey everyone, welcome to Food Culture Curious. My name is Arely. I'm a registered dietitian on a mission to help promote cultural inclusion in nutrition. Today we have with us Matilde Ladner. She is a kidney dietitian and she is going to talk to us all about her Peruvian cultural foods. I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matilda Ladner. I'm a registered dietitian, bilingual. I was born in Peru many years ago. I came here to go to the university because my mother wanted us to come here. And I stay here almost 40 years, I should say. But I visit Peru a lot, and I grew up there most of my childhood. So I can talk about that and what drove me to be a dietitian.
Wonderful. Let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about the staples growing up, starting with the proteins.
I was born in Lima. For about 10 years, I lived there. So I remember very clearly my mother buying fresh fish. That was one of my favorite dishes, fried fish with potatoes. We just put onion with lemon or lime, salt, and chile, which we call it ají amarillo, or rocoto, which is a red, very hot pepper. And we are used to that. Most Peruvians are used to this type of chilies and putting on fish, on just about everything, really, soups and anything. As I was growing up, my dad was the expert at making ceviche with fresh fish and sometimes putting pieces of other seafood and with lime juice marinated. So it's really not raw fish, it's marinated, so it's cooked with a lemon. And of course, we put a lot of onion and celery, and we call it kion, but ginger, tiny little pieces of ginger. And there's many other versions. So everybody prepares different, depending where you're from or how your parents prepare or your grandparents. I use red snapper, which is to me the best type of fish, but it's very commonly used, especially in restaurants, with tilapia. With any white fish really works well for ceviche. Or also shrimp, you can use shrimp and any other seafood. So that was in Lima. I also used to spend a lot of time in the highlands. By that, I mean it's the altitude. We actually used to get altitude sickness when we traveled there. It was an 8-hour drive, I remember, with a little car. Almost every summer, we spent a whole month or 2 months there because half of our family was there. My parents are from there, from a place called Huancayo. So the diet there is very different. They eat a lot of lamb and also pork and staples like potatoes. You probably heard Peru has like over 3,000. I read somewhere even 4,000 types of potatoes.
Oh, wow.
I haven't really seen that many, but maybe 20 or 30. But we have all colors. Think of purple potatoes, yellow potatoes. Anyways, there's lots of potatoes. And there's some that are much digestible at an early age. I remember as babies, my mom used to say, oh, we fed you like after 6 months old, this yellow potato, papa amarilla. Why? Because it's very digestible. It's not like other potatoes that are a little bit stronger. So that's why they used to boil and just mash it and give it to babies. I did okay with that. So we have many dishes. Talking about Huancayo, my parents' town, there is papa a la huancaína, which is basically potato made with a sauce with cheese. cheese and ají amarillo, which is the yellow pepper. Very delicious, of course, with salt and pepper and spices like that. So if you want to try papa a la huancaína, it's a well-known dish in Peru. Now there's many others, lomo saltado, which is basically beef, pieces of beef with French fries and served with rice. I remember having a lot of starches. Sometimes the plate has rice and has potatoes, and then the meat, where the vegetables. We do eat salads and things like that, but I think it's getting better a little bit more, because in the past they used to have a lot of the same dish with always potato or rice. Now, going back to the history in Peru, the Incas, the Inca Empire, were the first inhabitants of Peru. So what was from Peru originally? Quinoa. I remember eating a lot of quinoa in so many ways, in sweet dishes like rice pudding, but made with quinoa, very nutritious. As dietitians, you probably know, it has all the amino acids. Now, potatoes is native from Peru, maize, or which we call corn. And of course, I didn't taste them when I was younger, but alpaca was a meat that the Incas used to eat. Of course, when the Spaniards came, they conquered us, and they brought other animals like the cow and the pig and the chickens. So that was added to our culture. And then the Africans, unfortunately, just like here, the Spaniards brought Africans as slaves. And later on, the Chinese, mainly Cantonese. So the chifa, what we call chifa, which is Chinese food in Peru, is very different from the Chinese food that you eat here. To me, it's much more delicious. I don't know, it's something different about that. And going back to lomo saltado, the influences of lomo saltado, which I didn't know until only 20 years ago, the Japanese, because it has a little bit of soy sauce, and the Japanese who came to Peru brought that, their cuisine. So it's a mixture of cuisines from really all over the world, Asian and African, and of course the Spaniard, the European. So Peru has a lot of different foods. There are foods that I probably haven't tasted because, like I said earlier, Lima is in the coast. There is the seafood, and there's some fruits and vegetables that grow there. But in the highlands, it's more quinoa. There is a potato, I sent you a picture of that, called oyuco, which is a type of potato. You can even eat it raw in a salad. So I remember a lady who used to cook for us. She used to make a delicious dish called oyuquito con carne, or oyuquito con charqui. Charqui means like yerqui. It's like Quechua, the native language of the Incas, mixed with Spanish. But anyways, very delicious, very nutritious. And I don't know if you heard of maca. That's another tuber, and known because it's a superfood. It was popular 10, 20 years ago. In California, you would buy a little bit of maca for $15, and they still add it to shakes and things like that.
For the whoever is listening and may not be familiar, we had already done like an in-person version of this, right? We had the Food Culture Curious meetup. We had dietitians from all over Houston come in, and you were able to share with them about some of the staple dishes and some of the history that you're saying now. And I remember one of the things that stood out to me was something that you mentioned right now, which was the Asian influences and the different dishes. Like, for example, the rice. You said there was a type of rice that we ordered that was basically the stir-fried rice.
Oh yeah, the chifa, yes. That's from the Chinese Cantonese type of cooking. Like I said earlier, I haven't tasted things, because one part I haven't been in Peru yet is the jungle. Like I haven't been in the Amazon. But we have fruits that now they're better known. I don't know if you heard of chirimoya, which over here is so expensive. A little one like that is $10. That's how much I pay. Like $10 a pound. I think I pay $8. Over there, you pay less than $1 for a big one that is good enough for the whole family. And it's very delicious. Every time my husband and I go to Peru, he gets enough until he gets tired of it, because it's not as expensive. Over there, the paltas or avocados are giant. My daughter was so surprised to see them, avocados about this big, which are almost the size of a melon, but they're very nice. There is a lot of fruit inside. The palta or the avocado, what we call avocado.
Thank you for reviewing the main staples that you grew up with and a few of the more prominent dishes. I'd like to ask you a little bit about any holidays that you celebrate in Peru and if there's any particular dishes that come out during those times or desserts that come out during those times.
October, for the very religious people, de los Milagros. If you ever go to Lima around October, most women, especially religious women, are wearing purple. That's the color. And I remember clearly, I love this dessert. It's called Turrón de Doña Pepa. I guess Doña Pepa was the one who invented, but it's very rich with honey and of course sugar, and it's yellow color. But they sell it here. If you go, I didn't see it in Fiesta, but if you find a Peruvian market or Peruvian supermarket, you probably find it because they export it now to Ronda Doña Pepa. That's typical in throughout the year, but people eat it during this religious holiday, Señor de los Milagros. Christmas, even that's something that I do, just like my mom over there in Peru, is turkey, having a big turkey, and especially with the stuffing and all the trimmings. That's almost every house, from the poorest to the richest, have turkey and panettone. I think the panettone was brought by the Italians, Italian immigrants. So as far as I remember, since I was a little child, panettone has always been a staple during Christmas season. People buy it early December, but it has to be on the Christmas Eve dinner, served there as dessert with either hot chocolate or cold, because especially in Lima, it's summertime. It's in Hawaii. Christmas is kind of warm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but over here would be nice, cold weather.
And what is in panettone?
Panettone is a cake with fruit inside, but it's very tall, I should say. I guess the yeast that they put, it makes it, it's tall. It's not a flat cake. It's a very tall cake. And you see it. You'll see it all over the States. The first 20 years, we hardly saw it. We had to bring it from Peru or have friends or family bring it. But now you see it everywhere. And many of them are imported from Italia, but Peruvians make it. There's many factories of different panettones. When you go to a supermarket, my husband, my children were so amazed that there were like 2 or 3 aisles, only panettones.
Oh, wow.
Colors and sizes and brands and prices. So yeah, Christmas time is panettone time.
Very popular.
Very popular during Christmas. Yeah.
Wonderful.
28th of July, which is our independence. Anticuchos. I don't know if you heard of anticuchos. It's beef heart, marinated beef heart, and it's like skewers. They are very delicious. If you have a chance to taste them here, they're really good. And that's something that the Africans brought into the culture, Peruvian culture, with eating with corn and ají again, but it's a special ají panca, which is like a bigger chile, but brown and dry. It's dry. I remember my mother used to soak it in water and mix it and make the sauce. It gives a special taste, makes it better. Different ajís make different dishes. Amarillo is one, rocoto, which is a red pepper, very hot, not as hot as habanero, but close to that. And they even make, I know they make like stuffed bell pepper, stuffed rocoto.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I like it hot, but not that hot.
So would you say Peruvian food can lean into the spiciness? Because I know certain parts of South America, the food isn't very spicy at all. Would you say you can find spicy food in Peru?
Yes, I should say yes. Of course, there's always Peruvians who don't like that for some
Mhm.
reason, but the majority, they learn to eat spicy food since early age. Yes, I'm used to that. I like spicy food.
That's good. Thank you for sharing about that and leading into that a little bit as far as culture and beliefs. Do you know of any foods that in the Peruvian food culture are seen as health promoting? Like they might have some type of a belief behind it. This food will make you feel better when you have a cold, or this food will help you when you have a headache, anything like that.
Definitely. Like when I have my babies, my mother says, so they don't have colic, use anise, like water, boil water and put anise or chamomile tea, that type of herbal teas, and use that water to make the formula instead of just plain water. It's clean, it's boiled. And my children truly never had a colic. They were not colicky. I never had that issue with them, which is great. I don't know if that was it or that was the genes or whatever it was, but so yeah, Peruvians believe a lot. Like I even talked to my patients about that. I said, try this first. Let's say they have upset stomach. I said, maybe put oregano in your dishes or make a mint tea, oregano tea. So I think that comes from growing up. I always heard whenever you have a stomach ache or some type of ache, my aunts or my grandmother, oh, let's make este tea. This tea is going to help you. And hierbas, which means herbs, but dry herbs and different ones. There is one that I haven't seen it here, but herba buena, I think that's how they call it, good herb. That's a translation. So yes, they do believe a lot in that. The first try that before. And I don't know if you heard of uña de gato. It's not really food. It's the bark of a tree. They call it uña de gato because it looks like little nails, the cat nails, cat's claw, cat's claw. And it has been proven, Germans, investigators or whatever, they did their research, and it is an anti-inflammatory, it has anti-inflammatory effects. So my father, when he used to travel a lot, he used to bring that and make his tea. So yeah, there is a lot of that type of beliefs over there. And in many cases, many drugs that we use here manufactured by the big pharma, they use a lot of natural herbs or ingredients that comes from either the Amazon and areas like that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that. You mentioned talking to your patients about maybe trying more of a functional medicine approach. What are some foods that you see that you recommend for your kidney patients? I know you mentioned right now the anti-inflammatory properties of uña de gato. Is there anything else that comes into play that's more of like a functional role?
Yeah, I recommend a lot when they complain of nausea, vomiting, ginger. Tell them ginger is very inexpensive to get, and you can make tea or you can eat it raw, put it in your food, and try that. Because I remember as a pregnant woman, I used to have a lot of nausea, and it really helped me. And even I remember very clearly one time going with my husband deep sea fishing, and he bought ginger pills, and we took it early in the morning, and we didn't have any issues, seasickness, because we went deep inside. Other guy not too far from us, he was sick the whole time, and I felt so bad for him. But I believe firmly, so I do recommend them, and some of them do follow the recommendation. It's nothing chemical. To try that at first before more pills to take or other drugs, more stronger, if you want to call them, or might have other effects. So yeah, that's one of the recommendations I usually give them. Having some more ginger in their meals or in the foods, and see if the nausea gets better.
And you've been working as a kidney dietitian for quite a bit now, and it can be a really big difference working in dialysis versus working in CKD. How would you recommend for healthcare professionals that are working with the Latino population, either in dialysis or in CKD, to approach the nutrition?
It's best to get to know them, what they're doing, what their likes are. And I always tell them it's better if you prepare your own meals, even if beans and rice and this and that, we might in the past, like I've been doing this for 30 years. I remember those days when we used to tell them, oh, don't eat that because it's high in phosphorus, but everything has high protein is high in phosphorus. So I tell them, try to cook from scratch as much as possible. Boil it, cook it, season it, use your garlic and onions and your chili peppers and all that, and enjoy the foods in your culture you've been enjoying for so many years. Just don't get the ones from the restaurants. They try to incorporate more processed foods. They add, or they're already frozen and they just heat it up. And that's what makes you say, especially the ones who are always with GI issues, GI problems, because they eat out too often. If you cook your own meals, you put some herbs that are good for you, oregano or for cooking, it'd be more digestible. And that's why I tell them to cut down as much as possible processed foods, outside restaurant foods. There's good restaurants and there is not so good ones. So I try to tell them to make choices like that. If they're gonna eat out, at least let me know where, and we can see the menu and make better choices. So I help them that way, so they can still enjoy what they've been enjoying for many years. Because that's the worst thing you can tell the patients: don't eat this and this. What am I gonna eat? I would say that if I start telling them about what not to eat. I usually work with them what they like, what they're accustomed to. But if they are used to just fast foods, no, I said, let's cut it down. Probably not 5 days a week, but maybe only twice a week, and slowly less, and incorporate better healthy foods. Because after all, they lost an organ, a very important organ that doesn't function anymore. So they have to give whatever little bit it has a break. And how do you do that? By what you put inside your body.
A better roadmap to avoiding those additives, right, would be cooking at home instead of eating out, more made from scratch instead of processed foods, but still being able to incorporate the foods that they grew up with, which is great because it can be very difficult for a patient to hear, like you said, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have this, and then you're either forcing them to eat foods that are not of their culture, or they might just not even try because it's just too much.
Yeah.
So I know in CKD, there's a bigger push to cut back on protein to preserve some of that kidney function. How do you work with Latino patients, or maybe how would you work with a Peruvian patient to help them figure out how to cut back on their protein but still incorporate their cultural foods?
Like I said earlier, I usually ask them what are their favorite meals and work with what they are, and basically tell them by cutting down the amount of protein, you're going to slow down the progression. And you don't want to be on dialysis, let's say in 6 months from now, because the doctor told you that in my last 2 or 3 years, if you make these changes. So hopefully that's an incentive. Yes, you can still enjoy. Plant-based protein has been proven to help slow down progression. So I said you can actually eat more, because like a cup of beans or a cup of lentils give you a lot of protein, and you don't have to eat just a tiny little amount versus meat. If you want 3 ounces of meat a day, that's going to be just a tiny little piece. But by eating more filling foods like legumes, you would do better. And also incorporate more calories, because I've seen that in CKD patients, they lose a lot of weight because they cut down so much, and that's not good for them. I said, that's not healthy. You still need the calories. So fry your food, so put more oil in your salad, more calories, basically. And if they are not diabetics, maybe even more sugar, more honey. They don't give too much phosphorus or potassium or protein, but yes, calories.
Wonderful. So focusing on those plant-based sources of protein, legumes. Do you ever encourage them to try maybe foods they're not familiar with, for example, tofu or something that maybe might be a little bit out of their comfort zone?
Yes, if I do that, I try to give them a recipe, something that I have cooked and I'm familiar, and I tell them it is delicious, try it. But tofu, the thing about, they hear tofu and they immediately turn it off. They think it's, oh, not tasty. Yes, it doesn't taste if you're going to eat it just like that. But once you marinate or once you cook, you put your chiles, your spices, and cook it well and serve it with your whatever other quinoa, other dishes, or like beans. I have a sofrito recipe. I love it. Every time I make it, people who eat meat only and they eat that, which is a vegan plate, they love it. They say, oh my God, this is so delicious, because it takes 2 or 3 different chilies and it's really tasty. Even my husband, who is always looking for, where is the meat? He likes the sofritos that I make with tofu and pinto beans. So usually if they're like Mexican American, I give them that recipe because I know they will enjoy it. And with my
Wonderful.
daughter, who is vegan, I have learned quite a few dishes. There's Indian dishes too. And I do have, unfortunately, we have more Indian, Pakistani patients too. So I'm learning more about their cooking, their styles, what they like.
Wonderful. So if we are going to approach something that's unfamiliar be ready to give them guidance how to make it familiar, right? How to include ingredients from your own culture to make it less intimidating.
Yes.
Awesome, perfect. Do you have any takeaways that you wish that other either nephrologists or healthcare professionals in general knew about the importance of cultural inclusion in nutrition?
Yeah, doctors, they don't know much about nutrition. I usually tell my patients, listen to me and what I tell you. And if they tell you something different, let me know so I can see where they're coming from. Because yeah, doctors are typical, oh, don't eat that. And that's it. They don't say why, or they don't say the quantity or how often when they enjoy that. Come on, don't take it away from them. And besides, that's not what's causing whatever potassium, phosphorus. It's that they're not taking their binders or something like that. So yeah, I usually tell them I'm the expert. I've been doing this for so many years, so trust me, okay? I'm not saying I'm perfect, I know everything, but they're gonna tell you they know the kidney, the medical part, the diagnosis, medications, but I know more about what I do. So I try to, yeah, make them believe that they need to. I usually tell them anything that you heard before coming here to dialysis, you need to leave it because sometimes hospitals give them information from 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I try to say, forget that. Just listen from now on what I'm telling you.
I love that confidence. I feel like dietitians need to be more confident in that, but sometimes it can become
Yeah,
a little bit
I know.
intimidating.
Yeah, when you are new, yes, because believe me, if doctors are honest and you ask them, they don't know. And they say, yeah, you do that part. That's your area of expertise. So yeah, they don't need to be telling the patients what to eat or not to eat. Unless, of
Perfect.
course, it's something obvious. Mhm.
And do you know of any resources that you recommend for either healthcare professionals or dietitians that are working with the CKD population or Latino CKD, even dialysis population, that you would recommend for them to either get recipes from or just learn more about how to tailor the diet?
I'm glad you mentioned. We actually am looking for volunteers and not just Latin Americans. We want Asian countries. We want every single culture because the United States is it's a mix of different cultures and different. We the dietitian, the majority, we still there's a minority like us, Latin American or African Americans. Still Caucasians is most of the dietitians. So yes, the National Kidney Foundation is preparing that exactly what you're saying, recipes, instructions, not only for patients on dialysis, but CKD, different stages, so they can have those resources basically free of charge. But we need the dietitians who come from that culture to let us know what is like the questions you asked me, what is typical, what do they like, what celebrations they have. That's what we're doing for Mexicans, for South Americans, from Cubans, because even amongst us, our way of eating is so different, and the way of calling the names of different vegetables and fruits, they're all different. So all that needs to be disseminated amongst all dietitians, so not just renal, in general, for diabetes, for all these non-contagious chronic diseases that, as I heard recently from another dietitian, there are diets can make a difference. Nutrition, what they eat can make a difference, preventing the complications of these diseases.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So maybe the resources don't exist yet, but it sounds like the National Kidney Foundation is working on putting them together. And
Yes, and our company have resources too. If you work for the VITA, I'm hoping like Fresenius, the bigger companies, they do have group of dietitians that are working on this. So I see more of that because the populations are growing and the minorities are not being minorities anymore. So yes, the need is there. And what you are doing is great too. I think that's going to help many. You're growing, but who knows, 5, 10 years from now, you might be the super duper expert and everybody will go to your site because of the information that you provide.
that's the dream.
Yeah.
Thank you. If somebody does want to work with NKF on creating these resources, who should they reach out to?
If you are a member, you can find out who the area or region dietitian is, but the information is there. Just go to kidney.org or NKF. It's kidney.org, and there is a big request about that, needing or wanting more dietitians from different cultures that they can contribute to these recipes, these educational pieces.
Awesome. All right. Before I let you go, I would love for people to know how to find you in case they wanted to work with you.
Okay, I am in the database of kidney.org or renal dietitians, and also in the A&D, the Academy for Renal Dietitians. So if anybody wants to reach me.
And if anybody wants to work with you or wants to find you, book an appointment, where can they go?
They can go to my Simple Practice website, which is matilde-ladner.clientsecure.me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to record with us today. I know this information is going to be super helpful to people out there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Until next time, everyone. If you are interested in supporting this podcast, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/foodculturecurious. Or as always, you can support by sharing, following, or rating this podcast. Every click from y'all means the world to me. And now for a quick disclaimer. Food Culture Curious is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not take the place of medical advice from licensed healthcare professionals. If you need to seek medical advice, please speak to your healthcare provider. Thank you for listening.